So before the debate, we are going to hear a keynote speaker. Felipe Jesus is the president of the National Agency for Qualification and Vocational Education and Training. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to congratulate APDC, who's celebrating its 40th anniversary, and I would like to congratulate them for having chosen this topic, focusing on the valuation of people. I would like to greet José Carapuça and the president of this conference, and everybody who accompanies me in this panel to discuss the importance of talent in an age of digital transformation, which will be more inclusive and ecologically sustainable. Maria Luisa Ribeiro Lopes and Augustino Governantes Rodrigues Castro will be with me. So, in order to stick to our time, and I'm going to focus on the public policy measures that ANCAP has been working on, and that wants to give a concrete response to the challenges ahead. And so for those who are not so familiar with what we do, it would be good to start with the competences and attributions of the ANCAP, the National Agency for Qualification of Vocational Education and Training, which I shall do very briefly. ANCAP is responsible for the management and updating of the public policy instrument, which is fundamental in the area of information and training of youngsters and adults, which is the national qualification and training. And then there will be dual certification and non-higher level, which are available in our country. This dual certification means that they link a school certification to a professional certification. And this instrument has about 390 qualifications at the moment and covers 45 areas of education and training. That is 45 sectors of activity. This instrument was created in 2007. And is now is being renewed, and which should be concluded at the end of this year. General terms, and without going into detail, the renovation will allow us, we believe, to make the offer to supply suitable to the demands in terms of work. ANCAP also intervenes in terms of the initial training of youngsters, and we we cover all the areas of dual certifications, the professional courses, almost as well known. And we have courses specialized statistics, dance, music, theatre, drama, and others are listed here on the slide. And regardless of the modality, we always try to guarantee quality and relevance of these offerings in the market and the labour market. And we want to fight the stigma associated with professional courses, which are still present in some sectors of Portuguese society, but among the parents of students who sometimes see these courses as a second-class option aimed at those students who cannot have any success, or academic success. As regards adults, we regulate and vitalise the offer for adults through different training motives and through the RCCC, and we have the direct responsibility for the implementation of the qualified programme, and in the centres there are 313 qualification centres as a programme, and it wants to contribute to fight the structural deficit of qualifications in our country, and despite the great change we've seen over the last 20 years, I would just like to leave you with the name 35% of the active population, that is between the ages of 15 and 64 years old, has a scholar, but has primary school, so there's about 15 years, this is 70% of the population, which means that a third of people of the active population who are employed or looking for employment have to improve their qualifications. The intervention ANCAP in terms of the pursuit of qualifications sees amongst the three action lines which I consider relevant for the debates we are having today. The first, updating the catalogue of qualifications, to which we want this to respond to the evolution of the qualifications and competences which is permanently happening in a number of areas, but especially the areas of technology and communication and those who have digital skills. Secondly, to motivating schools to offer more professional courses in the areas of IT and in the digital sector, and thus are giving an offer that can meet the growing pursuit of people. And so thirdly, those in terms of adults should have access to digital literacy, which is indispensable for employability and social integration. I'm going to start with the first actual line, which is the first national catalogue of qualifications using IT and digital. The main purpose of this work is to have a more updated catalogue, which is as flexible as possible and corresponds to all the areas, especially in the area of the digital area. And so it is qualifications, broadband, and is focused more on intermediate qualifications, that is the levels 4 or 5 in terms of qualifications. The catalogue has to be more flexible and providing shorter courses, training courses, in order to have vocational training, long life training, without ever forgetting the continuous need for qualification. And there works in 6 areas for training, from sciences, IT sciences to marketing and trade. In the revision of the catalogue that's ongoing, we are deepening across the cut approach and reflecting on energy and the environment of tourism and pleasure, and we want to add new qualifications and competences which are necessary for services and industry. As regards the short and medium term courses, we have 40, and which is increasing the number of these courses. These courses have an average duration of no more than 350 hours. Now, the main advantage of allowing for an autonomous certification, the EU competency units, so that the training units may be capitalized in the future in order to obtain another qualification. So digital is the area that has the one that's most sought after in qualifications, and I'd like to mention 2 programs. The first is the Youth Plus Digital program, which is aimed at young adults who have a second level education, and for example could try digital trade, in order to mention 2 of the courses most sought after among youngsters. Total about 16 courses, which you can see there, and areas, which are many different areas, like cybersecurity, digital trade, or visual programming. These contents of these courses results from the work between ANCAP, IFP, and Portugal Digital, with an interaction with companies and specialists and listening to the needs of the sector. I would like to point out the Digital Competence Certificate Program, that is for adults with a low level of literacy, and this public we have 3 courses with contents linked to literacy and citizenship, aligned with the dynamic framework. These courses, each one has about 150 hours and allow for to obtain average level. But here the main objective is to contribute to improve the digital competence of the Portuguese population as a social inclusion factor and promotion of the employability of these less qualified target group. And it was possible to certify about 41,000 people. Interestingly enough, most of these people are women, or women at an adult age, join the digital courses more often, and they participate more in long life learning, and most of the people registered are also women in the qualification program. Now, second line, that is to reinforce the offer of professional courses in the digital and informatics sector. And this would like to point out the evolution of the professional courses available in the areas of audiovisuals and media production and IT sciences. And we believe that there has been a growth in the number of schools offering these courses, but also in the number of students who attend them. We have a great challenge still ahead, that is to attract more young girls for these courses, because unlike the public, the adult population is mostly boys who want training of this type, mostly. This evolution, this positive evolution, will be boosted by the creation of 365 of specialized technological centers and a total investment of 480 million euros. It is a fundamental investment in the technological modernization of schools, of these schools, with the response in the labour market, and much higher than the capacity that we have to train youngsters in this area. These 365 specialized technological centers are focused on 4 areas: industrial, renewable energies, digital and IT, and the area of digital and IT have the greater number of technological centers, 25 digital, 125 IT. And we have a number of course centers approved, and currently we are going through the implementation phase of these 365 centers all over the country. This is an opportunity, and a unique opportunity in the panorama of vocational training in Portugal. We are offering digital and IT courses on a great large scale. The objective is that these centres will be schools of reference, fully equipped and modern, in order to and will be able to receive students from different points of the country. And in the other 2 areas, in renewable energies and industry, are the areas very popular in Europe. At the moment, we have to. It's a challenge to attract more youngsters for these courses, And because quite often the demands of countries is not met. We are aware that we are not only increasing the number of courses to be provided, but the challenge of bringing more and more students to the training of this type and to the new professions in these areas of IT and digital. In addition to technological modernization of schools, it's fundamental to invest on the training of professionals and trainers in order to take full advantage of the technologies and the technological means that they're going to have at their availability. Finally, the third line of intervention has got to do with education and adult training, and this is the most challenging is the greatest challenge ANCAP has at the moment, because the lack of qualification of the adult population, despite of the progress made, is still considerable vis-à-vis our peers in Europe, and limits structurally limits the access to improvement of competences and vocational training. And since 2007, the Qualifica program has been the central policy. A number of public investments aimed at the increase of the training levels of the population. The Qualifica program in 2023 reached a historical landmark. We managed to reach 1 million adults registered in the program. At the moment, as I've already said, we have 313 centres working on the territory with different partners in different regions of the country, and it was already possible to attribute over 1 million certificates, 1,400,000 certifications to adults. Many finished secondary school or basic primary school, and some had a set professional certification. So with the PRR, the Qualifica has been boosted with 2 instruments. I'm not going into it, but with a total investment of 95 million euros. These investments placed in the new Qualifica centres at the local level, and aimed at suppressing the difficulties of mobilizing more adults, especially those with fewer qualifications and lower literacy levels. I would like to finish by leaving a challenge to APDC to say that within the scope of the work that carries out with IFP, and I know that the training programs of skill have a number of dimensions, and that many of the training contexts are drawn up and in terms of the needs of the companies, which is very positive, but there are skills which are in the catalogue and can be taken advantage of. There are 2 advantages of different natures. On the one hand, we will allow access to a formal certification recognised within the national qualification system, and which can be used in order to create certifications useful for people who carry out these training courses. And on the other hand, this is a more instrumental advantage. It's interesting for the trainee advantages because it allows for community funding included in Portugal 2030, and I hope you have a very interesting debate, and thank you very much.
So, without further ado, let's listen to Luisa Ribeiro Lopes, PT President Manuel Garcia, the National Coordinator of the Program Upskill, Hugo Bernardes, CEO of Key Talent, and Rodrigo Castro, founder of CEO Educate Yourself. So, Felipe referred to an interesting aspect. Most of people seeking digital requalification are women. However, there's a shortage of reference to women in ICT Do you agree? There's a shortage of women. Yes, I do agree. And let me congratulate APDC, congratulate its president, the president, Rogério Carapuz, and thank the invitation and to address this subject. What's missing for AI to be a more present reality? People mention competence. People are missing that can be produced, that can produce. So the talent has been the topic, has been on the agenda. I hope that many will still listen to our debate. And this is a very important topic to attract female talents. There are targets in the digital era stating that we need professionals. We need 800,000 professionals in that area, but the digital era also states, without forgetting the convergence of genders and professionals in this area. And mentioning some numbers, numbers give us vision. Numbers say, although Portugal is above the EU average, only 2 out of 10 people working in these areas are women. So 21% of women working in ICT, and we're above the EU average, which is 19.4. This means that there's still quite a way forward in terms of women's rights. And second of all, because of economic aspects. First of all, social. Women's digital inclusion working in this area is social. And second of all, it's economic. If we need 800,000 new employees, we can't waste half of the population. And what we saw presented by Felipe, although there's a big demand in the upskilling and reskilling, when we look at education, we do not have women opting for this area. Girls continue on interiorizing stereotypes, telling them that their male areas, the positive number was in a different level, where they're in the labor market, in an unemployment situation. Because we know that 70% of job offers require digital competencies, digital skills. Either women want to change jobs or are unemployed, and they know they need those skills, and they're looking for, because they're the ones with less competence, because digital exclusion is much more felt by women. So they seek it. We won't solve that problem if we won't solve the educational issues. So you've given us the context of what is the situation in this area, but why is it? It's not because there's a shortage of women in that, qualified women in this area. Yes, it's because of a shortage of qualified women. 66% of higher education, polytechnical education, are women. If we drill down to technological areas, especially where technology at the moment is more essential, that is like programming, AI, advanced computation, cybersecurity, quantum computation. So there only 16% are women. So we won't solve that problem if we don't solve the issues at preschool level. That is, boys in the technological area and women in the care one. So there are no options. So throughout women, boys and girls socialization, that there is this difference. And it's been existing in Portugal, and not only in Portugal, where this is century old, because scientifically people defended that women's brain wasn't like men's, like Aristotle's. Darwin defended that women's brain was smaller and wasn't as capable as man's. and it was demystified because science, neuroscience proved otherwise. The brain has the same ability at birth, exposed to different stimulus, developing different areas. So we need to work from very young, preschool, and then wait for results 20 years from now. Results always take a long time. Manel Garcia, welcome. So APDC participates dynamically in an upskill program. Felipe mentioned that program. What is the requalifications role in promoting the sector's competitiveness? What's its role? Caroline, the requalification issue, we shouldn't only look at the sector, be more comprehensive. And it's obvious that this sector, if we take a look at any other sector, we're going to listen to people say we need people. We don't have enough people. And this is cross-cutting. Manel, yes. Can you speak a bit closer to your, can you speak closer to the microphone? Thank you. The interpreters thank. It's cross-cutting. Maybe it started a bit before. And upskill started 3 years or so ago. But requalification has to be part of our agenda, and we have to understand it as a country. The upskill is a sector initiative. It will be mentioned at the end of the panel as well, because it's a challenge launched to work in that sector, and we guarantee through requalification programs the necessary skills for people to develop their activity in that sector. And we say and we defend that we have a problem in the country, which is of competitiveness and productivity. Competitiveness and productivity means more and more to automate processes, freedom of people. And now, two options. Either we leave those people at home or we challenge them to upskill, either in this sector or others. So this is the name of the game. So maybe it's time for us to say that we need also a national service of upskilling, and we will need so in the future as well. We've heard being mentioned, we heard AI, automated process releasing people. And these people won't want to be without jobs. We're going to upskill them. This is a challenge. This sector grasps it by launching the upskill program. The government, institutions in this country and other sectors will have to upskill the Portuguese. Is society responding to that need? Is it conscious of that fact? This also has to be, there has to be some work. Society has to be shaken. Upskill is a society challenge. I'll give an example of upskill. We have 5,000 people in each edition applying to a program. And we have 1,700 people that have been trained, but the level of applicants, of candidates is quite high. And let me refer to this fact, which is interesting. In the first edition, and this was not known, and we made an effort to disseminate the program, the Institute for Vocational Training has been collaborating, disseminated, sent emails, and it was the first mechanism to disseminate it. In the next editions, when we visited the upskill program, we wanted to, when we asked people, how did you know about it? They knew this program from a friend. So it happens also in these sectors, mouth of word. That is how people pass on the good example is terrible. And yes, if we're able to launch good upskilling programs, society itself will disseminate that information. Now, what do the customer ask from you to attract, report, retain these professionals, these talents? Well, they ask us more and more. They ask us flexibility and a positive experience, and look at AI. and how it can promote not only a positive experience, but on the contrary, a greater humanization of the process itself by using technology itself. So we have a phenomenon, a national one, which is cross-cutting. More and more recruiters do not have a capacity to meet the needs of the sector. So this is a process, as Manuel mentioned, it could be automated and processed in a different way by reducing the contact time with people, but also to adjust what we are supplying, offering to people in the market. On one hand, we have the attraction point of view, asking us for these processes, and on the other hand, all topics associated to talent management, experience, employee experience in the organization, and start understanding that we can do other things, once again, not dehumanizing the type of interaction relationship we have with the organizations, but by enhancing the person's career. Do you think that the business context is neglecting the talent management cycle by hiring? Neglect, no, maybe the word neglect is too strong, but is not taking the caution, the necessary caution. It will lead to people that will be unnecessary to carry out certain functions and should be upskilled. These people should be upskilled for other functions. Also, we know that we're part of a paradigm shift from energy transition, implementation of AI in all processes and so forth. And many of us have to look critically at our role and if our role will be affected. And this has to be done within organizations so as to anticipate what can be done with these people. And we'll go through upskilling. We'll go through often by upskilling. We've spoken quite a lot about AI in this event, and not only. And from a digital competence standpoint, this is still a black box for many people. And the differences in AI differences are not very clear, because when things are not clear and people don't know what they are, then there's misinformation and then there's fear. And fear leads to other undesirable reactions. Let's speak about education. This information has to be passed on at an early stage in education. What lacks in establishing digitalization, shaking society? Rodrigo is involved in a very interesting project with T-shirts. This is always difficult to say what is not being well done, and to mention it into just one problem. If we could take a look at the different variable, the education model is most likely when we remember, because we can have also extraordinary education. I remember a childhood friend that went to study to Berkeley, one of the best universities in the world, in a degree in computer science and business. And he worked for the most important investment fund in the world after graduating from Berkeley. And I asked him 2 or 3 years ago in a restaurant in Lisbon, during a very nice curry meal, how extraordinary had his experience been, because he had studied in one of the bestest universities and working in an investment fund. If I knew how difficult it would have been, most likely I would have gone to another university. I would have attended another. To sum up, an education problem which is multiple, with different facets to a cause. The question itself is not straightforward. So this work, which has to be done, needs to be selected. We need to select. We have to start somewhere. And this is what we're focusing on. That is to invest in solving a problem equivalent to there are formal, informal projects, and in a more adult stage, professionalized or not, that help students, trainees to learn. But it seems that people have forgotten to speak about teachers in these last 50 years. So let's focus on that very important, let's focus on the teachers, what can be done. And you can give an example, the project that you were going to start during the next school year, the EDUC project we launched last year, where we've been investing in a different learning methodology, different from the one used, innovative, because it already has existed for the last 100 years, learning per challenge, experimental, that is 100% digital, with protocols which have been thought of based on experience. An educational program nowadays doesn't have to do with content. It has a lot more to do with experiences. That is, who did their masters in the room had 120 T-shirts. I'm going to leave you with a question. How many of these teachers do you remember when you did your masters? How many? So 5 or 6, a handful, 2 or 3.
But a good teacher can change a person's life. I mean, because investing in teachers and investing in a way that can actually transform the way that they look at their own practice is for this reason, because a teacher can change or ruin the life of a child. Just things, as was said, starts in preschool. Companies have a part that affects them. The responsibility of organizations has not only got to do with looking at our carbon footprint of the contributions that we are making to the IPSS, for example, and so the way that we sort of have lifelong learning. The universities have a great responsibility. I'm a mechanic by training. If it wasn't the online, if it weren't for the online courses of MIT, I wouldn't have finished my degree, because my teacher didn't give me enough. And so the main objective is to help teachers to have a different educational experience or pedagogic experience. And so we have artificial intelligence for education. In September, we're going to launch a program which isn't really very impactful, because for what we know up to now is the only program that is going to actually is going to give to give a capacity building to teachers that aren't teachers. Because it's to make up for the lack of teachers. I mean, engineers, maths, mathematicians, biologists, etc., are going to teach Portuguese, etc. No, we're going to learn something about what it means to be a teacher. It's not a solution that's enough for everybody, because we're going to have to give them capacity to be good teachers. As said, to be able to say that we give them the sufficient number of teachers now. And so panels of this type, we talk a great deal about numbers. I don't know how many thousands trainees, I don't know how many thousand programs, but where's the quality? Who is worried about the true impact of that pedagogy? Who should be? I'm not going to give the answer, so I don't insult anybody. I think that quite often that the conversations are macro, but now they should be micro. And so when we're talking about the process, for example, when we did the work on PT and code, at a certain time we were visited by a club that Philip was talking about, to review the work that was being done on a methodological and pedagogic system. Like we scratched the surface. there was nobody questioning who was in our position, who was a great responsibility creating pedagogical content and why we were teaching one thing and not the other. And so how are we triggering off the content? And so the way the thousands of trainees who have been taught and when they go to the area of social networks and media, for example, and the other areas that we have to develop, how can we guarantee that that experience is going to help them stick out in their job? And because to find a job is easy, all of us have challenges with recruitment because we have a full employment and so we have to know how to make a difference, so where we're going, and so where we're having results. Louisa, politics, public policies, public educational policies, what opinion do you have? What have we had in the country and whether they have promoted the competitiveness? And we talked about the fact that there isn't much competitiveness in production in Portugal. Well, I have an opinion in relation to almost everything. I'm optimistic, and in relation to this, I have an opinion. This year, it was the 50th. It was the 50th anniversary of the 25th of April, and at that time, we had 75% illiterate people, and now we've never had as many people with many qualifications. So something we have done, and so we have done things that have been very well done, and we have public policies. Because obviously these are public policies that make things happen, and we have to insist for this to be possible. In terms of education, so both ladies are talking at the same time. You know Rodrigo's project. I know other projects that we made in 2030, which was for the development of digital skills. Which we helped to move forward, and I would say that we have the more formal initiatives, and they can make a difference. But they can make a difference on the one hand, working with people, with teachers rather, as Rodrigo said, and the project that is very close to us, which is the Webs for Good, I believe, and that is a teaching methodology to help teachers teach these subjects to their students and help them create content as for good. That is to resolve the sustainable development of goals and other things like Site Star, which is a project which goes to schools and gets students sort of challenge the students with the teachers and elaborate sites. There's a huge selection of works that was made by way of public policies, and this way our youngsters are more aware of this area of digital, and they can continue, they can choose these courses, because when we reach the labour market, they have to be good, they want to be good, and so we have to make this the educational pathway. I'm not saying they did things have not been good, and so, but I'm thinking that the results have to be immediate. On the other hand, that's not possible, and so we always have to assess a generation, and education is one of these areas. We have to have more qualified youngsters in the digital area, and we have to work with them from the preschool to the end of the university level, and so we're going to have results in 20 years' time, as we had in 50 years from the 25th of April. We've done something good, and teachers have helped in a great deal, and I think public policies are not bad, but I think that we want results the next day. So this is, we want, saying that's right. We always want the results as early as possible, because nowadays we're used to just clicking on the mobile phone and getting an answer. This is a problem. Now, Louisa mentioned a point that's very important. We have to know that they plan over a period of 50 years. We have to So when I'm talking about the National Qualification Service, this is a public policy, and we have to take decisions which are more structural. Louisa was talking about technologies for women. No, we have the most qualified generation, which is true. But when we look at this most qualified generation, we look at the 40% of Portuguese that have got a university degree, 10% have got in areas and technological areas. So people don't like it. No, I always give this example that a friend of mine gave a couple of years ago when we were talking about his children. They wanted to be civil constructors, contractors. They're always working. And Bob the Builder, which was a series that was on the television. This influenced them. So we have to understand from terms of public policies that we have to think about the youngest generation. We have to actually start working with them, not only in terms of the participation of women, but in general what the youngsters really feel like doing in terms of technology, etc. And so public policies are fundamental, and we can't possibly say we don't need public policy because the economy will resolve this, companies will do this. No, we need public policies, and we have to give life to education, and we have to begin with education. We have to move up in this scale of values. We have to motivate the public sector to have an impact on health and justice, and artificial intelligence will have an impact on people, and this is a public policy. So to requalify the Portuguese as public policy, we need a very strong investment in public policy in our society, because this is a very decisive sector for our society. I don't know what to say anything about this public policy, but I would still like to ask you, and now looking at talent and the labour market in the programme, there's this question, and the question is, are we moving forward to a sector, the sector of artificial intelligence, which is self-destructive, and that is, we're going to have more and more people with more and more unemployed people. I'm not a specialist in the area of artificial intelligence, but I don't think it's self-destructive, because if you look at history, there have always been paradigm shifts. I mean, this is not new. We know this is going to happen. We have to prepare ourselves. And as society, we have to prepare ourselves. And so maybe we can start with public policies related to education. So, I mean, the AI is going to be part of the curriculum, obviously, and also the point of view of qualification, upskill program. I mean, there's a number of things that still have to be done, and it's going to be necessary. And so not all of us can be programmers or feel like being a programmer. And so something has to be done, because studies show that it is in the intermediate post of organisation that there's going to be a greater redundancy between what we're going to automatise and those who are working. And so we have to qualify people, because for them to work with artificial intelligence, for example, which will replace a number of tasks that can be automatised. I don't know. It's very difficult to follow the gentleman, because the microphone is making a lot of interference, and so this process take a long time. Are we going to have to speed things up given the digital transformation? I think this will be it's going to take time. Some countries quicker than others, but I think that in 10 years' time, we're going to feel in Portugal significant alterations in terms of what the description of jobs in Portugal, and because the country needs these changes. Yes. Louisa, just one last thing, very quickly. Louisa wants to say something. Manel said that I was talking about the importance of educating girls right at the beginning. I asked the question of the lack of talents girls. Well, no, we have to educate girls and boys in the same way. And so, I mean, we don't want to construct stereotypes. That's all I wanted to say. Okay. Rodrigo, artificial intelligence in short and medium term. Do you think it's already taking away the critical spirit of students, or is it an advantage? If it's badly managed, yes, I think just like all innovations, we need to use them, and then for our good and not against us. And so the courses we have is artificial intelligence for students, but it's for teachers. That is how can I get my students to work with artificial intelligence in a classroom? And so the whole course is about teaching the teacher to see how he can create control systems, ethical use of AI, so as students can freely use the tools that, as we saw a while ago, not regulated. There's no legislation to protect minors about the use, but so students are not well guided. They're not going to use them for their own good. So I think that technologies have always had this danger, that is, and so we can sort of, they can be negative for us. And so in the companies, for example, do we allow or we do not allow our employers to use a CGTP chat, or whatever it's called. And I had a meeting with the whole team. I said, if you're not using artificial intelligence tools, you will be penalised on the medium term. I said, not in terms of evaluation, because somebody will you'll find people using this, and of course in school. And we all agree that it's in school everything starts, and we are forbidding. We shouldn't forbid. We should help them. We should hold out our hands. And so in Kirkevelish, they did a test, and he's got kids to say how should the use of mobile, the policy for the use of mobiles in the classroom, and they said that you use the mobile for study, and the kids themselves defined that for those who do not use the mobile phone for this for that purpose, they should be suspended for 3 or 4 days. So if you give the responsibility of the youngsters to criticise, I mean, they think they're critical beings, and so we help them to understand what the risks are, the opportunities, and how they can be disturbed because of the bad use of tools. And I don't think that I think if they should be used, so they need an opportunity to train and use the thoughts, and so we should help them, and so we should give them a hand so as they can go in the right direction, and they should be given a cushion when they fall. Well, our debate has come to an end, and I would like to thank you for your presence. It was a great time. Manel Garcia, there's still one word of thanks. You still space for time for one word of thanks. I'm going to be very quick because we don't have much time, but today in this Congress I must make a very special reference. We talk about upskilling, and generally we have talked about we've talked about innovation, knowledge as being the base of innovation. I think there's a sector which has the innovation, which is fundamental. It's fundamental for its success. And so there's the way it provokes in society and companies. And so this concept of innovation must be knowledge-based. And I would like to say that Upskill, the program that we talked about, is obviously based on innovation, but it's a different way for this sector to launch, if you want to talk about the challenge, launch the requalification of the people based on premises that aren't really normal. That is where I want to contract. So what kind of people do I want, what profile, and that's how the program is developed. These people are contracted by the companies, and so the mechanic of the program is innovative in the way we approach requalification. Last year, if you remember, if you were here, we also talked about people, because basically if you look at this triangle that we have based on the program, we have companies so this innovation has got to do with quality. With companies launching this program, decided that was fundamental. And how did the quality of training, how do you solve that? By qualifying the institutions of this country to help requalify the Portuguese in the sector of information technology, and this was a positive aspect. And so this is the triangle that we have to what you. So I was saying that last year we had this reference, and if you remember, we had alumni upskill, and that's a way to say that. Thank you. There's thanks to those 5,000 people who have joined the program, and those who have already been trained to their effort. It's not easy in 5-6 years to train somebody who's not from the technological area, and so it's not at all. So, but it's not easy for higher education professionals because they're not formatted for this type of education, and they had to prepare themselves for this type of education. In many cases, we've had higher education institutions who challenge their teachers to have training. So it's fine to talk about it, but we see the upskill as part of the typical objects, and these people are meant to train themselves in order to give upskill training, and this is the way our society can respond to challenges. So we're talking about the challenges in higher education. We in APDC have decided that the companies in the sector we'd like to say thank you very much to the higher education system for the way they have collaborated in the program, and I would like to say it by actually giving the names and the higher education institutions that participate in the program. First of all, the Polytechnic Institutes, the Coordinator Council from the Polytechnics who have collaborated with the program, and to make sure that Polytechnic Institutes are with the program, and so this reference to CISP. And so I would like to begin alphabetically, which starts in the north, and the gentleman's giving the list of the polytechnics.
Sim, exato.
Ajudar as empresas a criarem centros de competência fora do eixo litoral, fora do eixo Lisboa-Porto. E, portanto, a integração dos institutos politécnicos permitiu também que o programa tenha esta abrangência nacional e essa facilidade para poder ajudar as empresas também nesse seu desafio de criação desses novos polos de competência. Temos o Instituto Politécnico de Coimbra.
So the gentleman is mentioning the different polytechnical schools from up north.
O Instituto Politécnico do Porto, o Instituto Politécnico de Porto Alegre, o Instituto Politécnico de Setúbal, o Instituto Politécnico de Viseu. E porque, em particular, nas zonas de Lisboa, a rede de institutos politécnicos não é...
Especially because in the Lisbon area, due to the different courses, universities also gave their green light in terms of upskilling. And the gentleman is mentioning the different universities, and this is alphabetically. We started up north and end in the south. The University of the Algarve also collaborated in the upskill program. Thank you, higher education schools. Thank you. And a show of hands. Thank you to the higher education schools.